What's up, guys? Welcome back to Little Red Garage. Kind of exciting day today. We're going to be starting the engine for the first time. Got a couple things I got to button up over here still. You can see I got the carburetor off. I'm going to get that all put back together, show you what I got going on with that. We're going to be hooking up a water temperature gauge. I almost forgot to put power steering fluid in when we do that. I got a fresh 5 gallons of fuel. We're going to throw it in the tank. I'm still fighting a little bit of a wiring issue, but I think I got it figured out up here enough where we can get it to run. So enjoy the video. Alright, the first thing I'm going to work on here is getting this all put back together. The reason I took the carburetor off is because I realized that this manifold, it's a Mopar M1 manifold, that it has no vacuum ports for the power brakes. So I did some research. I seen what a couple of guys have done. They've actually drilled and tapped the back of the manifold. I was trying to avoid that, so this is what I came up with. I found a carb spacer with a vacuum port on it. Now the only one I could find was an inch thick, which this is already a high-rise intake, and I was running out of room here with the Little Red Express air cleaner. So I took this down to my local engine shop, and I had them machine it down as far as we could get it. I was hoping to get it a little thinner, but he was running into, there's some holes that were starting to come through it, and he didn't feel comfortable going any further. So this is what I got. This is going to fit top of the manifold. I got some longer studs, and now I'll have a vacuum for the brakes. I have a new brake check valve with a new grommet I'm going to install. So I'll get all that hooked up, and we'll be able to prime the carburetor, and I'm also going to prime the fuel line and the fuel pump. It's a mechanical fuel pump. We'll put gas in the tank. I'm going to fill the bowls with fuel, and I'm also going to fill the line so that there's something in there for the pump when it starts going. So let's get into that. Alright, carburetor's back on. You can see I had to ditch the spacer for now. I picked up these 2-inch carb studs from the parts store. It was the longest they had, and they're not quite long enough. I'm gonna have to get some 2.5-inch studs ordered. So I got it back on. It'll still run, and I'm gonna leave the fuel line off until I prime that. So this is all good to go. I think I'm just going to throw some power steering fluid in it fast, and then we're going to get inside and wire up the water temperature gauge. Okay, we got our temperature gauge all installed here. Oil pressure gauge is also all hooked up. I actually still have the factory temperature gauge hooked up as well. But you can see that that's just cold or hot. And this one's going to actually give me some numbers here. So hopefully that works now. I was playing around with the wiring again, trying to figure out what was going on here. And you know, I took all the fuses out, cleaned all the terminals real well. I also got under the steering column and took the connectors apart and cleaned all the terminals and put all those back together nice. And we have the battery hooked up right now, and it's a brand new fuse. This is the one that was blowing here, part of the ignition, and it's not getting hot. And we might have just had a bad connection somewhere, but we have ignition on the key, which I was able to start it with a trigger off the starter. I had one of these little I was kind of testing all the wiring, and I had this hooked up, so I knew that it spun over, and I knew everything out here was working. I was getting power to everything. I actually have spark, but that's the first time it's turned over with a key, so that's a good sign. So I think we're gonna put some gas in this thing and fire it up. Okay, we got 5 gallons of fresh gas. It is 90 octane non-ethanol. That's the only thing I can get right here now that's non-ethanol. I might end up running some octane booster. I'd like to get it up around like 93. This is 10.5 to 1, so it will run on pump gas. Should probably give you a little bit of specs on this motor that we're about to fire up. It is a 72 360 block that's been bored and stroked to around 418 cubic inches with a mopar forged crank. Indy heads, aluminum heads. They are Edelbrock castings, but Indy takes them and they redesigned where the push rods go in, so you can make the exhaust and intake ports much larger. So it's one of their special designs. Harlan Sharp rockers on a 1:6 ratio. Oh, we got a Mopar M1 intake, thermoquad that's been reworked specifically for my cam specs. Also has an Engel cam. Don't know the specs off the top of my head, but I'll put up a picture of the cam card. So I'll put that up right here so you can see what the cam specs are. So the carburetor was built specifically around that, and it's had some other work done to it to hop it up. You can see it's got a choke delete, which was said to increase almost 20 or 30 CFM, which is pretty crazy. Also, it's had the throttle blades slimmed for even more CFM, and it's been tweaked and tuned a little bit to run on this bigger engine. We got a set of Hedman headers on it right now, and Edelbrock mechanical fuel pump. So I try to keep it as simple as possible. No electric fuel pumps, no electric fans, just all old school, just how it would have been set up from the factory as far as the wiring and that concerns. Obviously not the engine. I don't remember what plugs. I think they're NGK and they're either like a step up hotter or a step colder. I mimicked them off a buddy's stoker motor that I saw. I'm running the same plugs to try. Big 8.5 millimeter wires from Jegs, and a vacuum advanced distributor, and that's pretty much it. I do have a mini starter that fit real nice with the headers. I'm actually able to take that starter on and off with the headers bolted on. So it's all filled with fuel. I filled the bowls. These two vent tubes here will fill the bowls up with fluid or fuel. And I also backfed the lines to kind of help prime the fuel pump. I didn't see anything leaking anywhere. So I think we're gonna fire this thing up. Pretty excited. I think I'm still going to, I'm gonna start it off this trigger here just so I can kind of be up here and see what's going on. I'm pretty stoked that it's gonna turn over with the key now. All right, I'm gonna go make sure the ignition's on. Ignition is on. Yep, we got fuel up here, squirting, obviously just from the bowls. I remember no choke, so cold starting probably, cold starting is going to be probably a little tough, but here we go, first start. Wow. All right, she wants to go. Wow, that sounds mean. Let's see if we can keep it running this time. I don't know if it's starving to get fuel or what. Doesn't seem like the ignition's cutting out. I think it's idling a little low. I'm going to turn that up a touch. Last time it ran, it was on the dyno, so it didn't have any parasitic drag from the transmission or the power steering or any of that stuff. Actually, got to check this because it only took about a half a quart. I'll let it suck that right down. Let me add some more power steering fluid here. Pretty stoked with that though. That sounded good, huh? I think so. Let me turn up the idle a little bit and see if we can get it to idle. Make sure we're not burning down in here. It all looks good. Give her another try. That was pretty impressive. That thing sounded great. Wow. We were getting 75 pounds of oil pressure at idle. Yeah, it's got a high volume oil pump in there. Oof. It looked like when I was revving it, it was touching up, going a little bit over 80. Hopefully I don't have a problem with too much oil pressure. This engine was actually built to have external oiling system. I don't know, and we never changed the pump. I think it was something that I kind of overlooked. But it's building great oil pressure, and it fired right up even with no choke. It sounds freaking awesome. What a just crisp throttle response. Whew, I could open the door, it's a little fuming here. But overall, pretty stoked with that. I guess, well, let's see if it starts with the key. What an absolute ripper. Whew. Alright, a few things I want to check. I want to make sure that the battery is charging from the alternator. We still got to figure out the carb spacer so I can have some vacuum for the brakes. Also the PCV system, I'm going to be hooking up that. I got the wrong grommet. The grommet was way too big for the PCV valve. But it's getting pretty close. I'm really stoked. I kind of figured out the wiring and that's all good. I think that's where I'm going to end this one, guys. I appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't done that. And catch you next time.